Flagbearer hope for Dr. Yao Adutwum has intensified his campaign, asking delegates to give him the nod to represent the party in the 2028 elections. The party's presidential primaries will be held in January, and Dr. Adutwum says he is the right man to return the party to power. In studio, I have with me the spokesperson for Dr. Adutwum, is the person of Yao Opoku-Mensah, who is already seated. Now let's go straight to the conversation. Mensah, it's good to have you here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
Great. One thing that most Ghanaians want to always see or hear, especially within the party, is the kind of message that a representative who desires to basically lead the party is trying to sell to the delegates. What is Adutwum's strategy and what message is he selling now?
Okay, let me say a good morning to yourself and to our lovely viewers, and to extend Dr. Adutwum's greetings to you and to the general public, especially party members. Now, the message is very simple. Now, if you've analyzed the development trajectory of this country, you realize that successive governments have contributed to our socioeconomic development. But one critical aspect which is still missing is the ability to do away with poverty in our system. Every program, irrespective of government that comes in, John Mahama 1, John Mahama 2, President Kufuor, straight to Kwame Nkrumah, etc., have all contributed. Yes, they've all contributed significantly to the progress of this country. But the critical aspect is still missing, and that is the missing link that Dr. Yao Adutwum has identified. A generational thinker, a generational believer who has lived in poverty, be able to come out of poverty and therefore see a fine opportunity to be able to lift Ghanaians from that poverty line to where he has got into. And that is the kind of leader that the current generation needs. Somebody who resonates well with the youth. The youth are looking for opportunity to be able to lift themselves out of poverty so that it will have a reflection on their family as well. And therefore, you look at the message of all the aspirants, then you get to understand that where is it heading towards? What is the critical ingredient that is needed to be able to lift ourselves out of that space? And that is why Dr. Yao Adutwum's message is anchored on prosperity, prosperity, prosperity. And one critical aspect has got thing to do with identifying poverty as a local element. And therefore, we need to devise means, which is locally done, locally implemented, to be able to lift people out from the poverty line. And we are not even looking at poverty line. We are looking at lifting people to the wealth line so that I will have a dignified life. I get that experience. I get that educational fundamental end that puts me at that edge to be able to compete with anybody on this planet Earth. So that my peer...
What is the end goal? Basically, you mentioned taking people from the poverty line. We've seen your previous government. You just came from...
yeah, sure.
And some will say, if you couldn't have done it before, why is this promise hinged on towards the future? Because if my bypass, which was in your domain, you couldn't do much, what is the essence that you do?
That's a good question. Now, if you've studied Dr. Adutwum from his days at the education ministry, you got to realize his preach on STEM education. That wasn't just any means of any education minister advocating for a certain policy line. He was looking at how do we engineer ourselves out of poverty. And one critical thing that we need not to get our attention off has got to do with using education as that ladder to climb up in ensuring that you do away with poverty. Now, how do you do it? You give that critical skill needed for the individual to build their own potential. At the end of the day, every talent, every skill should have a merit in the job market. And not just in the job market, but a meaningful paying job. And the ability to create a system whereby the young men and women in this country with that inner built potential will be able to create their own sustaining job. Mind you, my brother, in 1957, South Korea, Singapore were nowhere near us in terms of resources, in terms of development, etc. But they had a clearer path of understanding and ensuring that they are able to develop their country and their people. What did they do? They begin to engineer themselves out of poverty by introducing that advocacy element Doctor has been preaching all this while. STEM education, STEM education, STEM education. Because it is through that you get to have that innovators. It is through that you get to have that doer people who can use their own internal skill to be able to develop something which will be beneficial to them and the country as well. We cannot still go out there and be begging South Korea and Singapore for us to feed our people.
You've emphasized poverty as the greatest threat facing Ghana, and that is something the minister, your Flagbearer hopeful, is looking forward to dealing with. In the first 100 days, apart from STEM, which you made mention of, what other area or policy does he have in place that would necessarily bring the change that the nation is looking forward to? Okay,
so now I'll still again take you to our prosperity centers that we seek to create within districts and constituencies along the country. For example, you are within the business field. Have you ever heard that Ghana Revenue Authority has gone into Makola just to engage the traders and asking them, what do we do differently to support the trading or the business that you are doing? Except they go in there with padlocks and locking people's offices and spaces because they've not paid their taxes. Now, on that path, where Ghana Revenue Authority comes in to give you that technical support, comes to give you that technical skill, or give you some soft element that you can add up to be able to expand.
That is not the mandate of the Ghana Revenue Authority to do.
There are
agencies within government that are supposed to enforce that law.
Yes, that agency needs a paradigm shift from what they are traditionally known to do. Once you take it from me, you are taking the money. So what are you also giving me? So your interest should not only be taking the money away without giving me anything. Once you come, you realize that my revenue keeps falling. What do you do to help me? If you are not putting that narration on the table, then it means that whatever you are focusing on has got to do with you alone. And that is what is affecting our GDP growth. Once the people are able to trade freely, innovate freely, do something for themselves, it naturally translates into your GDP element. And we wouldn't even have the chance to sit around the table and be looking at exchange rate differentials where importers are crying, exporters are crying. Government says once it drops, my revenue also drops. Then what it tells you that we are not doing something right. And that element is what Dr. Adutwum has been able to identify. And therefore, we see across the length and breadth of this country, every place that we go do have a unique opportunity to create something for themselves. It therefore requires that leadership which is missing. And that leadership which is missing is what Doctor is in to fix. And once we're able to fix in that leadership element, I believe you, trust you me, Ghana will start building that building blocks that is needed, that element that is needed to ensure that our socioeconomic development do not remain stagnant as we see it.
It's interesting. What do you make of those who say Dr. Adutwum basically seems to be underestimated in this campaign and also possibly being tagged the underdog?
You know what? We are focused on our mandate, what we are seeking to do. The description of whether if it's an underdog or whatever is not what we are looking at. Now, we have a clearer path. We have a clearer agenda. We have a clearer understanding of how the socioeconomic development of this country should be. And therefore, any element, any destructive element that will be played around do not affect us. We are focused on the ball. We are focused on ensuring that we put out a dedicated understanding of how the challenges of this country can be done away with. NPP is looking for a presidential candidate, a potential president in 2028. And therefore, that individual should have that ability to be able to identify the loopholes in the system, offer possible solutions, offer not just solutions, but practical solutions. Somebody who has had that experience, live it, worked around it, and be able to save out from the system is what is needed to fix that end. And therefore, that is why Dr. Adutwum's leadership is of vital importance to you and me, not to only the NPP, but across the length and breadth of this country, Dr. Yao Adutwum should have that mandate, lead the NPP, and take power in 2028.
Has to do him contend within the NPP.
Exactly the point.
So basically, I want to get from you, I heard him on some platform, to put it in better context, that is ready to go boot for those who come against him, basically his reputation as he's campaigning for the Flagbearer Race. Now, it's interesting to note that there have been flyers going around social media about the 10 cents of Adutwum. He responded accordingly, but I want to get from you, what is your take on that and this bickering that is ongoing between candidates?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. At times when I hear some of these and begin to read some of them, I laugh off. Now, mentioning 10 cents, Jesus Christ came to die for us. On the cross of Calvary, he sacrificed himself. That blood, that atonement, has atoned our sins. And I don't know whoever is standing somewhere and begin to do that judgment, whatever. Fortunately for us, they say he has only 10 cents. That's only 10 cents. And we know our Redeemer is up there and he's watching. He's the only ultimator of that judgment. But that's aside. These, we do anticipate it. We anticipated, and I myself issued out that caution to the general public that definitely people will want to come after Dr. Yao Adutwum. We saw fake news published online against his name that is attacking our former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Subsequently, some senior officials of the Ghana Education Service, then some senior officials, former, i.e. the Deputy Director General in charge of quality and access from the Ghana Education Service, made fascinating claims on live TV that the success of free SHS should be given to somebody. The wrongs in free SHS then should be brought to the doorstep of Dr. Yao Adutwum.
He said that basically they shouldn't put everyone together and box them. That they
before that,
even
before that narration, that your colleague on that platform put it to him that in 2024, 2nd November, Mo Ibrahim told the world that when we talk of quality education, Ghana is second on the continent of Africa, just after Tunisia. And therefore, shouldn't we credit Dr. Yao Adutwum with that? The person said, no, we should credit to the president. So he should tell you the mindset. Subsequently, then we saw another flyer within the media space, bandied all around, etc. So it gives us a clear understanding what others are doing, because they cannot catch up with the heat. And Dr. Yao Adutwum, whether we like it or not, per what he stands for, somebody who is able to resonate to link up with the ordinary Ghanaian, is the man that has put himself. And we NPP people should be so happy that such a fine gentleman, such a fine brain, such an experience, having successes in other countries and establishing him in this country, offers himself to help us in our socioeconomic development. And this is what we want to do. That's a big question that I believe every well-meaning Ghanaian is asking. So that cannot be a distractive element that will distract us from our message to the delegates. And believe you me, on 31st of January, 2026, the good people of my party, the New Patriotic Party, will do all of us good. Elect Dr. Yao Adutwum to lead the party, and eventually, that percentage-wise, between the NPP and the NDC, that 9% in there will be the win for Dr. Yao Adutwum to add up to the fortunes of the NPP so that we can form government in 2028. So we are not distracted.
I will have the deliberate conversation on this, but we'll do that another time as well. Yao Opoku-Mensah is the spokesperson for Dr. Yao Adutwum, speaking on his behalf as they go into this Flagbearer Race for leadership of the party. Now moving.